Hey, when I was in high school, I had my mom tape something, a late night TV show for me on the VCR because she wouldn't let me stay up to watch it. And the next morning she came up to me and said, "Michael, I stayed up and watched that thing you had me tape." And it started with a disclaimer, and the disclaimer said, "This show may have content that is not suitable for children." And I thought, is he having me taping him porn? Because that's where all teenage boys get their porn from, their moms. She said, and then the next thing that came on was this cartoon of this talking meatball and a milkshake and some French fries. And I don't get why you like this show. So for those of you who don't know, my mom was taping me some of the first episodes of a show called Aqua Teen Hunger Force, which airs on Cartoon Network's Adult Swim. I loved this show. I watched it through high school and through college, and senior year when I found out that they had positions available for recent graduates at Cartoon Network, and then when they offered me one of those positions, I packed everything in my car and moved to Atlanta. So, yeah. This was the summer of the financial crisis, and so having a job at all was amazing, much less one at Cartoon. But things weren't going well, and 6 months into my job, they fired 30 people. The writing was on the wall, and even though I sort of saw it coming, when my boss sat me down and told me they weren't going to keep on any of the new college graduates, I was crushed. More crushed than I think I wanted to admit at the time. So I got really desperate. It turns out the guy who created Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Dave Willis, went to the same college I did. So I looked up his email on the company directory, and I sat down and wrote him an email, and then I sat, and I drafted it and redrafted it and redrafted it again, and then finally sent it to him. I just wanted to talk to him. I wanted him to tell me that I was going to be okay, and that someone would hire me for having good ideas, and that he liked me. For some reason, he agreed to meet with me, which was really nice, and he was really cool, and spent some time with me, and then he said, "Hey Mike, tomorrow we're going to have a VO session. You can come watch us do all the voices for the show." And I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Dave Willis maybe likes me. So I agreed, and I watched him and all the other actors do voices for the show, and I was just blown away. And then he came at the end of the voiceover session and said, "Hey Mike, tomorrow we have an animation session, and we're going to show you how we animate all the characters and stuff like that, and you can come along and check it out." And I was like, oh my god, finally this Cartoon Network thing, maybe it's going to be worth something. This is amazing. Maybe I'm going to be okay. So I went to the animation session with him at a place called Radical Access, and he said, "Okay, hey, now we're going to go show you how we edit the episode together. We're going to go back to William Street and cut it. But first, let's go get some coffee." And I'm like, I'm going to get coffee with Dave Willis, my hero. So we head to Octane, which is like super cool, yeah, hipster coffee joint, right? Yeah. Problem being, I don't drink coffee, but I'm thinking, oh, this will be okay, this will be fine. So Dave pulls out, some cash and walks up. I'll have a large black coffee to go, whatever you call it, yeah, whatever. Fucking cool. Yeah, orders it like a boss. Now, when I was in London, whenever everyone went to get coffee because it was cold and sad all the time, I would just order a Mocha, which in England, they just fill black coffee with a bunch of Hershey syrup and then hand it to you and charge you an extra pound. That made it bearable for me, so I stepped up to the counter and I was like, okay, and Dave's like, come on, order something. And I'm like, all right, fine, I'll have a Mocha. I forgot that this is America, and we don't half-ass shit here. And I also forgot this is Octane, which is coffee for douchebags. The barista turns around, and the next 5 minutes is filled with and people tamping things down, and machines getting conked and jerked, and I'm like looking back trying to figure out what the hell is going on and where's the Hershey syrup. And Dave is looking down at his watch and looking in the back going, what the hell is going on, and what is this kid dragging me into? The barista turns around and slides across the counter this beautiful little plate with a little cup in it, covered in like chocolate syrup that's been dripped across the plate. And on top, a mountain of whipped cream. And then she leans across the counter and she looks at me and goes, "Sprinkles?" I look down at the coffee, I look up at her, I look down at the coffee, I look over at Dave, Dave looks at the coffee, looks at me, looks back down at the coffee. I look back at the coffee and look at her, and all I can think is, "Oh my God, I'm with Dave Willis, you asshole! You're making me look like such a jerk!" This is my hero, and now I look like such a huge prick. But all I can say is, "No, thank you." Dave very generously pays for the coffee, and we step away from the counter, I holding a beautiful little saucer with a whipped cream extravaganza, and him with his brown paper cup. I look down scornfully. I look up at him, he looks at me, and then looks down at the coffee and says, "What are you gonna do with that thing?" Because I gotta go to an edit session. So I took this like monstrosity and like defamation to coolness and masculinity and like haphazardly, you know when you try to pour things out of a cup and it like spills down the side? That in front of the restaurant, like into a disposable cup. And sheepishly just followed him back to William Street thinking, Dave Willis does not like me and I am not gonna be okay and I'm about to be unemployed. Before Dave left for a meeting, he sat me down, and I just don't know if he liked me. He was nice enough to take time out of his day, but he more or less just kind of gave me a kick in the ass and said, "You have to keep showing up. You've got to keep doing stuff that you don't want to do, like, you know, drink coffee. For enough people to like you, that maybe someone will give you a chance to have a job full time." So I kept showing up, and now I work for TNT. Thanks.
Kept waiting for it to get